Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Hope everyone had a phenomenal weekend. I know those Pats fans are, maybe some Falcon fans not so much, but nevertheless, I hope you guys had a safe and wonderful weekend. I got some good stuff for you guys this week in regards to where rates are at. Really good stuff in regards to that. And I have a good treat for you guys in regards to owning a home versus renting. We're actually going to take some time to get together today. Do this hand-in-hand kind of motion as far as identify the benefits of owning a home versus renting. We're going to let the room fill on up. I'll be right back with you guys, and I'll see you real soon. Alrighty, welcome back, guys. This is your Monday Mortgage Live for February the 6th. And this is your episode where you can find any type of mortgage content related. If you're doing some open house shopping this weekend, maybe you're under contract and you have additional questions about your particular loan or your loan benefits, this is going to be the cornerstone, if you will, where you can get all of your information answered live. Now, there is a slight delay on my side, roughly about 6 to 7 seconds. So if you do ask a question, if I don't respond right away, I know that I'll be checking comments and replying back to you. As far as getting into where we are with rates this week, last week job reports came out. They came out a little bit stronger than anticipated. However, wages came out lower. So it was a mixed bag of information. And anytime you have economical news that's for the better, typically rates get a little bit worse. But based on that mixed bag, if you will, investors have actually put more money into bonds, driving the price of bond prices higher, which drives the interest rates lower. So this week opening up, bond prices open up higher, rates are a little bit more favorable. We should see some more favorable repricing as we get closer to Wednesday. So from a professional perspective, if you're looking to close this week or in the next 15 days or so, I'd be looking into locking and securing your rate on a 15-day lock. 30 days shouldn't be bad either. This would probably be the ideal time. But to maximize your pricing, 15-day lock is a shorter lock. This is the best way to get the best pricing that's out there. Now, and that's where rates are at this week. I wanted to share with you guys a pretty cool concept as far as, I wouldn't say cool concept, share with you guys as far as the home buyer mentality, if you will, or even the renter mentality. In today's day and age, we're not in an environment where information is a scarcity. We have Google, we have Safari, we have Chrome, whatever you use. There's an abundance amount of information that's out there. It's more of what is the right information and what is most palatable and how can I understand this? And with all that in mind, I'm going to be sharing with you guys a calculator that I have designed to show renters and homeowners what the benefits of that would be. So if you're just looking at a monthly payment, and the monthly payment is higher on owning versus what you're currently paying for rent, in most cases that would deter or discourage people from actually pursuing that home ownership. Not a lot of people know the tax benefits that are involved, the equity position that provides the people's wealth in regards to home ownership. So today we're going to take some time and go over that stuff today. So let's start with some home shopping, if you will, where we have Zillow. Everybody goes to Zillow. I don't know anybody who hasn't used Zillow. And there's some other platforms that are out there. You have Trulia, you have Realtor.com, things like that. But Zillow is probably the most common for anyone, any first-time home buyer, mortgage professionals, realtors, what have you. And I'm not sponsoring for Zillow or anything of that nature. Some of their information is a little outdated. So at the end of the day, I strongly recommend speaking with a realtor, a licensed realtor, even though your best friend's next door neighbor's cousin who got a really great deal. I don't recommend them representing you or answering any specific questions. This has to deal with real estate and one of the biggest decisions you'll ever make in your lifetime. Just one of them. So I strongly recommend speaking with a realtor. But this part of the episode is not about identifying a realtor. It's more so of just identifying where the home shopper starts. So in this particular example, I already preloaded a couple things. I so happen to be in the Lake Nona area. And I was looking at homes that are in the $200,000 to $280,000 range. So anyone that has a family or just starting with a family, you're looking for a little bit more additional space. This is the location of where I identified these. So now you can tweak these, of course, if you want to do something cheaper or if you want to do something more expensive. But just for this example, we're using the $280,000. So as you guys can see, I on my map, let's open it up a little bit more just because we want to kind of get a variety of different houses. And we're just going to go eeny, meeny, miny, mo kind of thing here. So this is nice right here. It's a nice $259,000 property, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 1,700 square feet. As I mentioned, $259,000. You can kind of peek and see what's going on here. When the home was built in 2005. There is an HOA. That's very important to know, especially for qualifications. And then I'm scrolling on down here to the property taxes, just so I can kind of get an idea how much my property taxes are going to be, which it's right down here. So property taxes on this home is roughly about $4,200. As a professional, I don't know if that's homestead or not. We will dive into that on another episode. But just for all intents and purposes, $4,200 for property taxes. I have an HOA that's about $43 a month. And my current list price is about $259.5. So I'm going to come over to our calculator. Bloop. And I have some of this already preloaded for you guys, if you will, but we're going to go ahead and fully make this customizable. So for a future homeowner, if you're currently paying rent right now, let's see. Rents in the Metro West area, Lake Nona areas, Orlando areas, they're increasing anywhere from 4 to 6% every single year. It's one of the highest appreciations next to college education. But rents in the Orlando area, Metro West, Lake Nona, they're definitely increasing. So some of these numbers are going to be very familiar to you. If they're not, then we could obviously customize to what your monthly payment would be. But for this example, let's say you pay $1,795 in rent every single month. And as a renter, you don't have all these additional obligations. You just write a check and that's about it. As a homeowner, going back to that example of $259.5, $259, this is our purchase price. Now we get down to down payment. There are several different programs that are out there, but the way I design this based off of just going an FHA route. No, you do not have to go FHA. You can go conventional with the same minimal down payment. Heck, you can even go VA if you're a veteran, where you can do 100% financing. So, but for, again, for this example, I did an FHA, 3.5% down payment. Boom, it's already loaded there. Total points and closing costs, every lender is going to be different. Here at Homeside Financial, we do have a processing and underwriting fee, and there are some tax cert fees that are in there, but as a whole, it bulks up to about $1,200. Prepaids, items prepaid at closing. This is typically going to be your escrow account. As we recall before, we noticed that property taxes for this particular home were running us roughly about $4,200. That's for the entire year. So for my estimations, what I'm using about 6 months of that. So if my property taxes are $4,221, they're about $351 a month. Multiply that by 6, it's about $2,110. That's what they're going to collect for property taxes. And yes, guys, we'll dive into prepaids on another episode, but just kind of giving you guys an idea of bulk, property taxes, homeowners insurance, and prepaid interest, or at least days of interest, would be located in this area here. So I'm using a mock number, if you will. I use $4,200. It's pretty inflated. However, it's a good representation that there is going to be cost that's there. As we come down a little bit further, mortgage insurance, as I mentioned, is on FHA. This is the upfront premium that they charge. So this is financed back into your loan. And something you should definitely know about this amount, this dollar amount here, it is tax deductible. So anyone that is hearing, oh my gosh, mortgage insurance, it's horrible, and I don't want it. It's a complete waste of money. It's not a waste of money. if you're leveraging your tax returns in the right manner and the right way, it could be a very, very huge benefit to you and your family. Remember, at the end of the day, we want to pay less in taxes, right? So home ownership is going to help you leverage that portion, and we'll get into that a little bit more. Upfront mortgage insurance added to the loan, yes, we just went over that. So total loan amount would be roughly about $254. So on this particular house, as we mentioned, just going back and forth, this beautiful home here. Let's actually look at some photos. Go look at some photos together. This beautiful home here is running $259.5, 3.5% of that with mortgage insurance all included. You're coming around $254,959. That's what your monthly payment is going to be based off of. I used a mock interest rate of 4.625. That is just a high number because the market has been extremely volatile, especially with Trump in power now. There's really no finger you can put right on where the market's at. So this is a good representation that the market is going to be going higher and lower. If it goes lower, then hey, great news. If it is 4.625, then we were prepared for that scenario. APR again has to do with the total amount of cost for the loan in comparison to the interest rate. At the end of the day, this is not what impacts your pocket every single month. What impacts your pocket is the note rate. So the 4.625 is the perfect representation of monthly payments, things of that nature. Principal and interest, $1,310. So you can kind of get an idea that the mortgage payment itself is already cheaper than what you pay for rent. But as we have discussed before, owning a home is not just paying principal and interest. There are additional obligations that are involved. And as we come down, you'll see the calculation for mortgage insurance. This is pretty much cut and dry. It's 0.850 for FHA. It's a little bit less if you're putting a little bit more down, but we can dive into FHA specific programs on a different day. Monthly mortgage insurance breaks down to $180 a month, which is tax deductible. So anybody out there who's looking at that number and doing some quick math, $180 a month is roughly about $2,100 a year. That $2,100 a year is tax deductible on top of the interest that you spend for the mortgage itself. Property taxes, that's incorrect because we found what the property taxes are. So the property taxes are running us roughly about $42.21. So it's about $351 a month. So it's a little bit less. Homeowners insurance, that's pretty much cut and dry. The age of this home was built in 2005. So it's a fairly newer home. It's less than 16 years. So you should get a good premium. I'm not an insurance agent, but I know great insurance agents that I can definitely recommend over to you. Andrew Harrell with Harrell Insurance Agency comes to mind. So if you guys are looking for a great auto insurance, homeowners insurance, please let me know. I can definitely make that connection happen for you. But for this example, we're just using $100 as an estimation, and that's on the high side. HOA, as we saw before, it's $43 a month, not $75. And even though HOA is going to be part of the total property obligation, there's something you should know. It is not part of your mortgage payment. The reason being that the HOA is listed is because it is a property obligation, and any financial institution needs to qualify you off of the total property obligation. So that means they need to qualify you off of the principal and interest. They need to qualify you with the mortgage insurance included. They need to qualify you based off of the property taxes included. They need to qualify you based off of the homeowner's insurance included. And they need to qualify you based on the HOA dues that are included. If this particular property was or is in a flood zone, there would be a dollar amount here. I don't know that amount, so we're leaving it zero for all intents and purposes. So as you can tell and see already, to own this home, to own roughly a $259,000 home, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,700 square feet, it's going to run me about $1,986 a month. It's a little bit higher than what I'm already accustomed as far as spending. However, that's not where we start. That's not where we stop, because as a homeowner versus a renter, the benefits start to take place at home ownership, or at least consumption. And what that means is the tax benefits that we were mentioning before. Let's go into the tax benefits, if you will. Everyone's tax bracket is different. So if you're at 15%, 25%, 30%, they're all different. And at the end of the day, they represent how much you're paying Big Brother, IRS, in taxes. The more write-offs that you have, the less taxes or potential taxes that you would have to pay to Big Brother. So if you're having more write-offs, essentially this would move your tax bracket. This is known as a marginal tax bracket. This will move your marginal tax bracket down. So for this representation, I did 25%. And in case anybody out there is curious, a 25% represents $37,000 to $91,000. So if you're making income in that range, you're right around about 25%. If you're making, six figures all the way up to 190 grand, you're at 28%, so forth and so on. And as you guys can recall, I mentioned home ownership is extremely easy. You can go onto Google and you find these things. So if you type in 2017 marginal tax brackets, you'll find what the tax brackets are for 2017. Moving forward, as I mentioned, the mortgage insurance is tax deductible, 100% tax deductible. Annual house prices, listen guys, in our market, every area is different. I know in the Lake Nona areas, there are some homes in the last year that have appreciated roughly about 5%. Those are real numbers based on appraisals that I have seen. So it's a good representation in this area that 4% would be the appreciation for the area. Time frame of holding the home, I'm estimating roughly about 10 years. Everyone could be different. Maybe they just want to purchase it for about 5 years. Retain the property for 5 years, 3 years, whatever the case may be. But 10 years, 120 months is a good representation of that, at least for a first-time home buyer. Expenses to sell, let's say you decide to sell in the next 10 years, you're going to have a realtor involved. If you do have a realtor involved, on the high side, it's about 6%. So these are all just different future calculations that you need to know in regards to tax benefit, which drives us over to here. Monthly tax benefit. Owning a home, as I mentioned, you have that write-off. You have $379 monthly that's broken down into a tax write-off. You get $0 as a renter. Your after-tax payment, which means after your write-offs, after you write everything off, as far as your interest, the mortgage insurance, things of that nature, you're going to have an after-tax monthly payment. And your after-tax monthly payment, it's actually cut off here on the graph, but you can see it right here where I highlighted the blue box. Your after-tax monthly payment is going to be $1,607. So every single year, after you write off your interest, after you write off the mortgage insurance, things of that nature, what you truly paid for that year on that mortgage on a monthly basis is $1,607 versus the rent that you paid for that entire year with no write-offs, $1,795. Now you look at these two big numbers that are right here when it comes to cash to close. As a renter, you maybe need first month and last month. So for the whole year, you spent $35.90. Small number, not a big number at all. On the buying side, this may sway a lot of people to say, hey, these are great numbers, but I don't have $14,000 laying around to put down on a house. And then that's where I say to you guys, you do. You actually have access to $15,000 in down payment assistance. If you're purchasing in Orange County, Osceola County, Hillsborough County, Pasco County, and there's a couple other ones, roughly 11 in total, that you could qualify up to 15 grand in down payment assistance. That can be all applied towards the down payment or applied all towards closing costs or a combination of both. So going back to the example, 14.5 as far as needed to close, 15 grand would take care of all of that. So my point being to this is your first-time home buyer who is renting, spending $1,795, you could actually be spending, what is that? $1,607 minus your $1,795, thank God for calculators, $188 a difference, and you're moving in with no cash out of pocket as far as for closing costs and down payment. Awkward pause, but it's intentional. Why aren't we doing more of this? Why aren't more people, banging down the door for their bank or the financial institution saying, hey, there's 15 grand I have access to. How come I'm not taking advantage of this? And I'll say this, it's knowledge. Not too many people know about this product and program, and other professionals, if you will, would sway you away from this because it requires that much more work, and there's probably like this much more work that's involved on first-time homebuyer programs and products. So going back to this, not much cash that's needed to close it all. But one of the bigger components is, the bigger number is the home ownership aspect. If you're a renter, and you didn't spend 14 grand, and even as a homeowner, first-time home buyer, you still want to spend 14 grand, but using that scenario, and you saved up all your money that you would have spent as a renter and invested in something else that's at a roughly 8% appreciation or rate of return, you would have made $23,000 in 10 years. Versus owning a home, you have what's called equity. Equity appreciates. That's what this number had represented before. The annual house price appreciation, the 4% that we were talking about before. That number represents how much appreciation you'll have in that time span. So versus a renter, you'll be $156,000 richer, if that makes any sense, versus someone who's only renting. That trumps being a renter, if you guys will. So this is where 30% of homeowners acquire their wealth. And to firm up that statistic, homeowners are 30% more wealthier than renters. And it is from that specific graph, if you will. Majority of the equity is coming from that appreciation. Now, we're not in that same market in 2007, 2008, where equity is going to be a question of, am I really going to get it? We're now in a market where things are starting to excel a lot more. So getting behind the buck as a renter is probably going to do more harm than good in the future because, again, rates are going to be increasing. Home prices are going to be increasing. It's not to say that you wouldn't have the same amount of equity stance as a homeowner. It just means that the particular home that you're looking at, as you guys recall, this house has been on the market for 5 days. It could turn around maybe 10 days from now and go up in price. I don't know that. I'm not a licensed realtor. I'm a licensed mortgage professional, and I work predominantly with these numbers. And based on all those numbers and what people can afford, waiting too long to find out is going to hurt more than anything. So I know I went over a lot of stuff. I took a lot of your guys' time, but I do appreciate all of it. If there's anything or any questions that you may have, please feel free to leave your comments below. Shoot me over a quick PM, and I'll be more than happy to answer. Even if you're working with a competitor, listen, I want you guys to make smart and sound financial decisions. So that means, Michael, I need a second opinion. I need someone to look at these numbers that was provided. I don't understand what the strategy is for this mortgage plan that's put in front of me. That's where I can come into play. I'm a certified mortgage planning specialist. I'm also a licensed mortgage loan originator. I've been conducting loans for roughly about 12 years now, come March 31st of this year. So there isn't a scenario that I haven't seen or that I'm not familiar with. And if I personally haven't done it, I have over 30 years plus experience with my colleagues that can find and identify those answers, including in-house underwriters. I want to thank you guys for all the time that you spent with me today. This has been your Monday Mortgage Live for this week, and I'll see you guys next week. Thank you.